YouTube, it's Kay, and today I'm going to be bringing you a video that I've already technically done, but on my other channel. So for those of you who don't know, I have been on YouTube for years. Previously, I was on YouTube with the name Karen Sandiego. My name is Karen, and I had the Karen Sandiego channel, but since then I've had a whole bunch of issues with that channel where I just felt like I needed to revamp and rebrand myself. So now I'm here with you guys, Kay Slays, and on Karen Sandiego's channel, well, my channel as Karen Sandiego, I had a few videos about how to get any job in retail. Now, to give you guys a little bit of a backstory, before I graduated college last year, 2015, with my bachelor's degree in psychology. Before then, while I was in school, and for a brief period of time while I was in high school, I worked in retail, and I worked in a lot of different retail companies. To name a few, I've worked for H&M, I've worked for Nordstrom, I've worked for Saks Fifth Avenue, I've worked for Target, I've worked for Toys R Us, and Banana Republic. The list can go on and on and on. I've worked for a lot of retail companies. And something that I've noticed with myself is that regardless of what company it is that I go on an interview for in retail, whether it's electronic, like I've worked for the Sony store, or clothing like H&M, I always get the job. And it's not coincidence. It's not just luck or anything like that. It's a very strategic way that I go about making sure that I get any retail job that I apply to. And I'm going to help you guys out. Now, like I was saying before, I have a video like this on my Karen Sandiego channel. I will link it. But this video is just going to be a little more detailed about how to get any job in retail. And to jump right on into there, the first thing is when you want to get a job in retail, what do? You go online. You may go on a company's website. For example, let's say you want to work at H&M. So you're going to go on H&M's website, you're going to go down to the careers tab, and you're going to fill out an application. That may be how you do it. Or you may decide, you know what, I want to go into the store. So you may go into an actual physical brick and mortar H&M and fill out an application there, or however you decide to apply. Now, regardless of how you decide to apply for a store, first thing you want to do is maybe visit the store. So you want to visit the store that you're applying to and decide, hey, is this somewhere that I can physically see myself working? Just because they're hiring doesn't mean that that's a place that you want to work. You should not just apply anywhere and just hope that somebody is going to pick you, because you're going to be miserable. And take that from me, because I've had plenty of jobs where I was so miserable that I just quit within like a week of working there because I didn't do this. So what you want to do is, before you apply to any job, visit the store. Now, you can act like you're shopping, just walk, kind of keep an eye, look at the employees, look if they look happy, just go to the register, see what's going on over there, see how everybody's kind of acting, and see if you want to work there. First things first. Then, once you've assessed the situation and you've figured out if this is a place that you want to be, you're going to go and look at the application. So now that you're at the application process, this is where it starts to get tricky. So in retail, for the most part, every application has an assessment. And this is where most people get to the point where they get casted out right there because they fail the assessment and the job doesn't even get to see them. So for those of you who have never done an application and you don't know what an assessment is, on retail applications, they have these assessments that are done and they're facilitated through outside companies. So they'll have some type of talent acquisition company, HR service that is going to do these assessments for them in their job application process. So it'll be things like a list of questions. A lot of times they're like 100 questions and they're ranked. So you have to answer, do I strongly agree, disagree, somewhat agree? Like, it'll be listed from worst case scenario, which is absolutely disagree, and then strongest, strongly agree. So the key to passing the assessment every single time is to make sure that you answer on one side of the spectrum. So if it says strongly disagree, somewhat disagree, unsure, somewhat agree, strongly agree, and it'll go on like that, you want to either say you strongly disagree or you strongly agree. You never want to be anywhere on the middle of the spectrum. You don't want to say you're unsure. You don't want to say somewhat agree. You want to either make sure that for every single question that you're answering, you either strongly agree or you strongly disagree. This says that you make decisions. This says that you are strong-minded. You're not wishy-washy. You need to strongly agree or disagree, so that you will pass the assessment as long as you do that. So a lot of the times there is no right answer, no wrong answer, except for questions where it's like clearly you need to agree to this. But for the most part, they're just trying to see your decision-making tactics. Strongly agree, strongly disagree. That's the assessment. Now, let's say you passed the assessment, you did great, and you get to the point where now you're getting a callback. So now you're going on the actual physical interview. So now once you know that you've got an interview, you need to go back to the beginning and start researching this company again. So we're going to use H&M again. So let's say you got an interview at H&M. So what you want to do now? Go on H&M's website. You want to see what's trending on their website. Usually what's trending will be on the first page. As soon as you put in hm.com, you'll see those things there. That's what they're focusing on. So maybe you want to implement a few of those things into your wardrobe when you're going in, because as I've said in my previous video, on retail interviews, you do not have to be boring. You don't have to do the regular suit and tie. You can dress it up. And if you see that you go on H&M's website and you see floral everywhere, why not put a nice floral shirt underneath your blazer to just add a little pop of flair, to show you have personality, and to show that you can actually dress the part of what they're trying to do in their stores. You don't want to go into a retail interview and look boring. Nobody wants to hire that, not for retail anyway. So just try to add a little something, put a nice necklace on, have some bracelets going on. Make sure you look nice. If you're going to go in for a retail interview, if you're a lady, do your makeup. Don't wear any obnoxious, don't wear reds or pinks or purple lip colors, neutral lip, but make sure your face looks nice. If you're a guy, get a haircut. Come in there looking like the models on that first page, okay? So once you've done your research and you're ready for the interview, you want to think about a few things before you get there. So on every single interview process, what a question that is going to come up is, so what are your strengths and some of your weaknesses? What do you consider your biggest weakness? And that is a question that like stumps everyone. They don't know how to answer it. You don't want to say something negative about yourself. I get that. But at the same time, you need to pick something that is both a weakness and a strength. And then when you say it, you need to be able to say why this is a weakness and why it is a strength. So it needs to have both ends of the spectrum there. So an example of something that you can say is, I feel like my biggest weakness is that I'm a perfectionist. Now, once you say that I'm a perfectionist, that just sounds positive. So you want to make sure that you make it clear why it's a weakness. So you can say something like, oh, I feel like I'm a perfectionist, and in my personal life, it can affect me because I spend way too much time making sure everything is perfect. However, it does help me out in the workplace because I make sure that everything I do is done right. I pay attention to detail. So although it does affect me in my personal life, it benefits me in my work life. Now let's say they go, not a weakness. What are you going to say now? You could say something like, a good weakness that I think I have is that I'm always really early. Like I'm not a late person, and my issue is I'm never on time either. So I always end up getting somewhere way before I'm supposed to. Now, in your everyday life, I'm sure that can be annoying. Getting someplace, I have no gauge of time. So I always end up early, and in my day-to-day life, that's annoying. But when it comes to work, hey, I'm going to be here ahead of time. That says you're reliable. So even though it's a weakness, it's annoying in your everyday life, it doesn't count against you in the workplace. You don't want to name a weakness that's going to count against you. You don't want to say like, yeah, my biggest weakness is time management, because you didn't say what kind of time management. Before, with my weakness being early all the time, that's time management. But it's a time management weakness that can count for me. If you say time management, they're going to assume that you're always late. And if you say you're always late, unless you're giving them some type of counterbalancing thing that's going to make you sound better, which you can't, late is late. There's no good to that. So saying I'm always late is not going to help you get the job. You want to make sure that you pick a weakness that is also a strength. Also, a big tip that I think a lot of people, in my experience of seeing interviews done, get wrong is body language. Body language is so important. It tells the person that's interviewing you what kind of person you are. So if you come into the interview and you're like this, if I did this entire video like this, would you think that I knew what I was talking about? If I was just like, yeah, and look scared, look nervous, slouched, you want to stand up straight and you want to look the person in the eye. This says that you are confident. This says that you are strong. And this is just the type of person that somebody wants to hire, opposed to someone who is sitting like this. Being upright gives off the appearance of confidence. Ladies, for those of you that have issues with this, wearing heels, if you can walk in heels, is a great way to automatically appear to be more confident than you are. It's a little trick. For men, being dressed nice. Even for ladies, being dressed nice boosts your ego. You look good, you feel good, you walk in there, you're confident. If you don't feel, if you're kind of wearing, for ladies, if you're wearing a dress that's a little tight, or for fellas, if you're wearing some pants that don't fit right, you may give off the sense that you're not comfortable. And in feeling uncomfortable, you're seeming like you're not confident. So you want to make sure that what you're wearing is allowing you to sit up straight, smile, and act like you want to be there. And that brings me to a big point: smile. When you're going on a retail interview, it is so important to smile, because you're coming in for a job for customer service. Now, when you're working with people, it is so important to make sure that you are always smiling. That's what they want to see. When you come in, when you walk into a store, if you walk in and all the employees are like, what do you think? Like, you don't want to be there. It's not welcoming. You don't want to shop there. But if you walk into a store, all the employees are folding and they're smiling and they seem happy to be there, makes you want to be there. It just creates a better environment for the customers and for the employees. Happy employees make a great company. So if everybody is there and they're just smiling away and they're folding their clothes, that just helps everyone. It helps management, it helps the customers, it helps your employees. So make sure that you are on the interview smiling, and that's another thing that will help you land that job. Also, when you go on an interview, you want to make sure that you come prepared. You need to make sure that you have your resumes. Always make sure that you print about 5 copies of your resume, because you just never know. Sometimes you go into an interview and they'll have multiple people interviewing you. You want to be prepared to be able to hand interviews to every person that is there. You don't want to be there and be like, oh, I'm sorry, I only brought one. Just being over prepared is never going to be a bad thing. So make sure that you have those resumes with you. Also, make sure that you know what's on your resume. Sometimes, I am guilty of this as well, maybe embellishing a little bit on my resume. And if you're gonna embellish on your resume, which I'm all for, make sure that you know what you wrote. Don't have someone else do it, and then when you get to the interview, they're like, yeah, so I see you worked at the Gap for 6 years. And you're like, wait, 6 years? Did I? No. You need to know that that's 6 years. You need to know what you're claiming to have done there. You need to know that resume like it's the back of your hand, so that when they start asking you questions, you don't have to be like, hold on, and going through your resume to make sure that you remember what you said. Make sure that you know it. Everything is about, the name of the game is confidence. You need to, regardless of what you have on that resume, whether it's true or false, you need to be confident about it. Like, own it. If you said you were a manager at the Gap and you were only a cashier, own being a manager. You need to know what a manager did. You need to know everything about the managerial process and be able to speak to it as if you really were a manager. That's the only way to do it. I've done that. I'm not ashamed of it. I've lied. I've said that I was an assistant manager. I've said I was a manager. I've said certain things that may have not exactly been 100% true, but they weren't something that I couldn't speak to. I always made sure that I knew what I was talking about. Like, if you say that you were a manager, something that they're going to ask you in the interview is about the numbers. What were your sales goals? And you need to know that. You can't not know about sales goals. Look them up. Look up store sales goals online and figure out, based off how big the store you claiming to have been a manager in is, and figure out what the sales goal should be. So that when they ask you the question, you're not like, sales goal, what's a sales goal? Like, you need to be able to answer the question without hesitating. Don't think about it. Answer. That's the name of the game. That's how you do it. And the last tip I can give, the best tip, is really, you need to become an actor. On an interview, it's not about who you are. You could be the most ratchet, the most crazy party girl, party guy you are, but in that interview, you need to pretend to be who they want you to be. So if you go into, as I said, and you should have already done, if you're applying to a store, you should have visited the store. So while you're doing that, you want to kind of look at, wait, who already works here? What are these people like? Because they got hired. So you need to make sure that you're coming across the way they do. If you walk into a store and everybody is really polished, like, for example, I worked at Saks Fifth Avenue. When you walk into the store, everybody standing up with good posture, everybody kind of looks expensive. So when you go on an interview for a store like that, you should look like that. You should look like the person that you know they want to hire. You can't walk into a store looking like Forever 21 trying to get a job at Saks Fifth Avenue. It just, you just wouldn't get the job, because they want to hire a person who's already packaged. They don't want you to come in and use their discount to get the clothes. Even if you can't afford the clothes that they sell there, you can get clothes that look like they cost a lot of money for barely nothing. Like a Zara, an H&M, you can find clothes that look like they're really well made when they're actually quite cheap. So that's it. If you have any questions that are not in this video and are not in my previous video, which I will link below, I did go in a little bit about the resumes and things like that in my other video. This video was more about the interview. If you have any questions, let me know. Comment below. Give me a thumbs up. Please don't give me a thumbs down, and I will see you in my next video.